Hello and welcome to Connect and Collaborate. I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and I'm very excited for this week because we are kicking off our topic on manufacturing all week. And we have one of my favorite people in studio today with me, Tom Bugnitz. He is the CEO of Manufacturer's Edge, and I thought you'd be a great person, Tom, to get in here to kick off our manufacturing themed week.
Always fun to be here, Alex. We have a good time together, don't we?
We really do.
And I guess just a little bit of background for anybody who doesn't know. Manufacturer's Edge is the manufacturing extension partner for Colorado, which is a U.S. Department of Commerce program. And our job is to help manufacturing grow in Colorado. So we cover the whole state and all 104,000 or whatever square miles of it. And it's quite fun to meet the new people as we go around. And so I thought we could talk today with a manufacturer who is kind of got an interesting story.
Oh, and yes. But before we get started real quick, I need to let our audience know about our upcoming event that we have on September 19th. We are hosting a climate change event, and the guest speaker at that is Congresswoman Diana DeGette. So we're very excited for that. All right, Tom, I'm going to let you introduce your guest today.
Well, I'm not going to do that just yet because
okay.
I'm going to jump on top of you because we're actually
you're co-hosting
we're co-hosting that event, and we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Congresswoman DeGette is really a good voice for manufacturing in the House of Representatives, and so we're happy to work with her and her staff to do this. So appreciate you guys jumping in on it as well.
Absolutely, our pleasure.
So Alex, we've talked a lot, and you know that I've got some hobby horses about manufacturing. One of them is basically outdoor and lifestyle manufacturing, which includes everything from bicycles to beer to apparel.
Everything Colorado stands for.
Everything
really.
Colorado stands for, and I like outdoor and lifestyle because the people who are running those companies, more than a lot of other companies, have a passion about the thing they're doing as well as passion about manufacturing. And so I've really enjoyed getting to meet those people around the state. They've just got a different energy about them and about the companies they're building. The second hobby horse is basically what I consider rural manufacturing. There's a definition that the U.S. Department of Agriculture has about rural. And so we've got 47 rural counties in Colorado. And the manufacturers there, and I think even any business in those rural areas, they view themselves really more as not just building their company and having a company, but helping build their community. There's much more of an awareness about how much they impact a small community. I mean, even a Grand Junction is 57,000 people. It's but that's still small community. Montrose, Durango, you've been to all those places. And so, again, there's a different view of how people think about their company when we're talking a rural area. And the last one, as you know, and we've had a lot of guests in here, is we really are promoting and helping women in manufacturing. And the women CEOs we know, you've seen them in here, again, have a different approach. It's got nothing to do with being a woman. It's just got to do with, we've noticed they have a different approach at how things work.
Yeah.
And so those are kind of the three things that I've always got my antenna out for. I was in Grand Junction about 2 weeks ago, and we had a CEO roundtable with our partner Company Week. Bart Taylor has been in here. And it was about, I think, 8 manufacturers around the table at the Grand Junction's business incubator run by John Marashine out there. And the conversation was going on, and our guest today was sitting across the table about 15 feet away from me, and somebody to her left running a manufacturing company made a comment, and she very, very directly but very professionally said, "Well, I completely disagree with that." And so my ears perked up. I go, I always like this. And then she went on to talk about the idea of investing in equipment is really an investment in the people for a number of reasons. And I listened to her for a while, and I said, this is somebody who really has a good and different perspective on how you run a manufacturing company. And I walked around the table at the end, and I says, we're going to do a radio show in 2 weeks, and I'd like you to be on it. Would you mind? And she agreed. So Today we have the CEO of a company called Seek Outside, which is Angie Timm, and Angie runs this company out of Grand Junction, right off of the Business Loop 70, and I've been there, and we'll talk about that in a while. But Angie, thanks for agreeing to do this.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, Angie, I'm just curious, first of all, what's the weather like today out there?
It's turning less hot.
Finally, right?
Yeah.
Yes, finally.
And notice that's not
Brutal
cool.
Summer.
It's less hot. Yeah.
Yes, just less hot.
So Angie, why don't you, if you wouldn't mind, just describe in general the product line you've got and what you're doing out there.
So we make ultralight teepee tents for backcountry travel with titanium wood stoves, which are also very light, and ultralight backpacks. So we really focus on people getting out away from the campgrounds and into the backcountry wilderness areas.
And I've been out there to the plant, and the teepee tents are really interesting. Like the one you've got even had a vent in the top for a stovepipe.
Ooh.
Yes.
If I remember right, Angie. And so the hunters, I think, are really, really big on this.
Yeah, definitely. Anybody going into the wilderness in shoulder seasons and even summer in the high country can have a heated shelter, and that's pretty much a game changer.
And then the titanium stoves are interesting as well. They're very light.
Yeah.
Angie, I'm trying to remember. They're about maybe a cubic foot size stove, something like that.
Yeah, they kind of range from 8 by 8 to 15 by 15. So we have 5 different models.
And they weigh nothing almost. If
Yeah,
you really...
and it's titanium.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so it's
ultra light.
Very. I mean, this stuff is all very impressive, and the design is out there with you. I think, Angie, you've designed almost all your stuff, except for some of the things you source, like the backpacks. I think are sourced from another company.
No, everything we manufacture here. The stoves are actually, we buy the raw material, and they're produced in Delta.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, you've got the guy down there who sends you the parts, and you put them together.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
So all our design, they definitely helped us tweak all the little millimeters. But yeah, they're all just made in Delta.
Delta, for people that may not know in the Front Range who don't get out there, is about halfway between Grand Junction and Montrose.
Oh, okay.
So it's hard by the Western Slope and down by Olathe and all those places.
Yeah, great community. Lots of farming, lots of agriculture in that area.
Well, and Angie just used the word, Alex, community. Angie, tell me about how long you've been out there and what's your, because I think you're spread out along the Western Slope, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I own a home in Ouray County. So I live between Ouray and Ridgeway, which is far south, about 100 miles from where my shop is. I commuted for 7 years, all up and down the Western Slope, pick up stoves, bring them to Grand Junction, and now I currently have a little condo here in Grand Junction, so I don't have to drive as much. But that's kind of my story for travel on the Western Slope.
Yeah, so for anybody who complains about commute in Denver, Angie was commuting 100 miles and picking up pieces of titanium on the way.
You got to do whatever makes sense, and definitely investing in the company was the thing that made the most sense. And me spending that much time in my car every day was just a little small portion of making it work. So
Angie, I know when I was about 6 or 7 years old, I had the vision that what I wanted to be when I grew up was the CEO of a nonprofit in a manufacturing area, because I had that vision from that day. I'm sure when you were
Wow.
at some age, like 6 or 7, you said, what I'm going to do? I want to make teepee tents. That's my deal in life.
You're right. It's exactly what I thought I would do.
Yeah, exactly. And there you are. You're living the dream. So
I am.
So how did you get started in this, Angie? I don't think you took over this company. I think you started it from basically zero, right?
Yeah, my husband came home from a hike one day and he said, we should make teepee tents. And I said, that's really a dumb idea. So he's like, oh, we could buy a teepee tent. And I said, no, we have kids. We can't afford that kind of stuff. And so he's very convincing, my husband, to make me do things. So I had a little teeny tiny sewing machine, like a half-size home sewing machine, and Kevin bought some fabric at the local Walmart, and we made a tent and put it, up in the backyard, and it looked like a witch's hat. And I said, see, I told you. And, and we kind of started from there. I started making like all these little prototype tents, and I'm uniquely qualified because I made an apron in 7th grade.
See, there you go.
I too made the apron in 7th grade.
Mine was gray and pink, and that might show my age. Gray and pink was very trendy. So we just kind of started it at the house making these tents. We went on a trip with the kids, and I said, well, I guess we could always sleep in the car if things don't work out. And so I made some stuff at home. Found a company in Grand Junction, a small little sewing shop, to help me learn how to actually make these products. And Charlotte definitely was the integral part of us being professional, not Angie's sweatshop in her basement at home. Charlotte is still with me today. I mean, everything that we make, she has had a hand in helping us get to production, and we do all of our own production, and we have 27 employees.
Yeah, it's a good sized company. I told Angie that that puts her basically in the top 20% of size of companies in Colorado.
I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, if you've got that many employees. Angie, you just said something interesting, and I've been to the plant. And Alex, you should go visit. It's very interesting. You walk in, and the first thing that impresses you is it's clean and it's bright. But not bright. It's just well lit, well organized, and there's a little different feel. There were just a couple of people working there when I was there that day, but there's a different feel about those people, I think, because of the way Angie manages. So, Angie, you mentioned that Charlotte has been with you for the beginnings, for your whole history. And I know you've also said things like, people who are crazy you've surrounded yourself with in your craziness. But when I was there, I sensed more of somebody who had built a community or almost a family with their company, not just hiring people to do a job. And I'm curious how you thought about that as you were going from Angie in her basement with a half-size sewing machine to what is a very impressive operation out there. It's an extremely impressive operation with 27 people. So I'm just curious your thought process and why you built the company that way, as opposed to what a lot of people do, which is hire the next person walks in the door and hope they work out.
I have done that as well.
Okay.
We all have to go through a process.
Yeah.
Also, it's always worked out. I mean, there's been very few people that have ever left. And not left because we wanted them to. I don't want to go to work. I don't want to drive 2 hours to work, when I was commuting, to go to a place that was dark and dingy and there was no place to sit and eat lunch or no place to go outside or, I didn't want to work. I don't want to work there, and I don't want to work those long hours and put in all that effort for what I'm, they're working for me and I don't want them to put in those hours in a dark and dingy, terrible place. And, I think that selling gets it gets this, there's a reason people call it a sweatshop, right? I don't want people working so hard that they're sweating and they're, in their dark little corner and no one cares about them. I think that if you invest, like we rented this building and I spent $16,000 on lights. And because I don't want people hunched over a machine all day working for me, helping me achieve all the things that I want to get done in just a terrible place. So we painted new walls. I myself cleaned walls. We had no furniture. This place didn't have a kitchen. We went to IKEA and, spent $8,000 on furniture and a kitchen and, refrigerators. And it really makes a difference to me because I feel like I'm at home. I don't want them to feel like they're working all this toil and trouble for some lady who has the big office in the corner, that doesn't care about them. So it's really about just caring.
Yeah, and I think, Angie, you said what got my attention at our CEO Roundtable is you said, look, you've got to invest in things. Investing in equipment is investing in your people. It's all about making the people feel like you care about them. You use the word care about my people a number of times, and it feels to me like that's how you drive your decision making, and that's how you drive how you grow your company out there.
Well, yeah. Like on a Thursday afternoon when it's hot, we've actually taken one of our little carts at work and turned on the ice cream song music from the ice cream truck and had everyone have ice cream. Just because it's too hot, or when it's cold in the winter, I'm like, let's go to Starbucks, and we go, and I'm investing in them because I know I'm hot, or I know that it'd be really nice to have a nice frothy cup of coffee, or, I buy lunch once a month, just because I want them to know that I see what they're doing for me, and it really is for me. Yeah. They're serving the customer and doing all these wonderful, amazing things, and I have to invest in them. When I moved to the shop, I bought all brand new machines for everybody, and they're super fast, and they cut the thread if you just kick your foot backwards, and they're electronic and fancy, and it makes them faster. But I didn't change their rate of pay. I kept it the same, so they're making a little bit more money here. It's good. It makes me feel good to care about them.
Well, and the thing also, as we walked through your plant that day, what I noticed was that you're paying very close attention to what a lot of people consider irrelevant details. I mean, you said very cavalierly, I spent $16,000 on new lights. But you didn't just go out and buy lights. If I remember right, you did research on those lights, and you got the lights that were the best lights for that kind of work, and paid attention to that detail. Yeah, and so I think I'm sorry. Go on, Angie.
Oh no, we went all LED in the shop too because I don't know, I care about the environment as well, and I didn't want the lights to be hot on them. Yeah. They're working with a 120 volt, motor underneath their bodies all day long. Definitely, the lights don't need to be hot too.
Well, so. and Alex, when I was there, I think it was was it a baby shower you just had or a wedding shower, Angie? You had
we did. We just had a baby shower for Jess. She's due on the 24th of this month. But she's still back there cutting.
Oh gosh! keep the water boiling or whatever it is you're supposed to do when somebody gives birth. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that doesn't happen, but you know what? Whatever, we'll work with it.
Yeah, and Angie, do you have a sense of the 27 people? How long most of them have been with you, or how many are new? What's the kind of demographic of your workforce there?
Oh wow. Well, I have, I think, 4 new sewers this year. We've had just incredible growth, and everyone, everyone has been here since the beginning, it seems like. But I think 8 years, 5 years, 4 years. And people really range from, I have a very young girl on our website. You can see her sewing right now, actually, on our Facebook page. Monica, and she's I think 22, and all the way to 65. Yeah. So, we have a really diverse group of people.
How many managers do you have besides you, Angie?
Well, we just kind of have like coordinators, really. Like, we're not trying to give everybody a title here. I think we're all equal and we all have different responsibilities. I don't like manager titles. I think that makes people feel uncomfortable talking to other people. Like if you feel like you're lower on the totem pole and not a team member, then it's really hard to sometimes talk to your boss. I think that makes people feel inferior, and I don't want that in my workplace. I think everyone has a value and an opinion, and it matters.
Angie, I'm just curious. Where did you learn all this? These are what I would think a lot of people would say are enlightened ways to think about management. How did you get here?
I think I got here from bad parenting. if that makes any sense in the world. I had a child when I was young. I was 18 when I had my daughter. And I think that I tried to overmanage her instead of help her be the responsible human that you want your kids to be. Happy, healthy, those things. And I think I screwed that up a lot. And I've had a lot of reflection on that. And I raised my boys differently. She's obviously older than them. And I had an 8.5-year-old daughter when I had my middle kid, and an 11.5-year-old daughter when I had my youngest kid. And I think that I just failed miserably at listening to what my heart said. So when I talk to people here, I want to treat them like, I should have treated her. Also, I was a restaurant manager, and you have to deal with a lot of different people in that world.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So I think, those skills just are, I don't know, lessons learned failing at things. So.
Well, Alex, go on, please.
Oh, I was going to say, which is how I think failing speaks volumes for how you choose to move forward, right? You can either dwell on it and not learn from it, or you can push it forward and create a great company like you have.
Well, and Alex, I think when we did our interview last week, 2 weeks ago, where I said something about people said, "Would you like to be 30 again?" And I said, "No, I hate that guy. That I don't want to be around that guy."
Yeah.
And I think it's the same kind of thing. What distinguishes, I think, Angie, as she's explained it, and a lot of the people I know that I admire a lot is, we all screwed up. And as another boss of mine said, it's not how you got into trouble, it's how you get out. And what do you learn from it, and those kind of things. So I think that's, Angie has just, reinforced that in terms of how somebody develops over time as a manager.
Oh, yeah.
And I can tell you, I was out there talking to people. She's a good manager. She's a good CEO. She has a very good company.
Well, retention rates speak for themselves. 27 employees, again, impressive in the manufacturing community in Colorado. But to retain people that you've retained from day one is not unheard of, but it's impressive for sure, especially with your managerial skills going in. We're going to take a quick break here on Connect and Collaborate. So stay with us, like and subscribe our YouTube channel while you're here. Check out this podcast and the previous one that I had with Tom Bugnitz at cobrt.com/radio-podcast. You can check out, you can type in Tom Bugnitz, you can type in Manufacturer's Edge for any of the past episodes that we've had with him and his wonderful guests that he brings me all the time. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Connect and Collaborate. Once again, I'm Alex Hopkins, your on-air producer, and this week we are talking manufacturing. And I have in studio with me Tom Bugnitz. He is the CEO of Manufacturer's Edge and our partner on the upcoming climate change panel that we're having on September 19th with guest speaker Rep. Diana DeGette. So I want to make sure that our audience signs up for that at cobrt.com/events. You'll find that registration link on September 19th. And so, Tom, we've had a great conversation with your guest, Angie Timm, president and owner of Seek Outside. I'm going to let you kick it off from here.
Yeah, I think at the break, Alex, we mentioned about making mistakes. And Angie had just talked about, how she learned from those. And I think the key is something Angie said in the break, because she said, I make mistakes every day. And then, Angie, what happens at the end of the day?
I reflect with a glass of wine.
Okay,
As everyone should.
as everyone should. And being in Grand Junction, there's a lot of good wine out there.
Oh, yeah.
No question about it.
There is. It's kind of impressive how much good wine is actually around.
Yeah. Angie, I wanted to keep going down the path we talked about with how you've built that company. But you've built it in, compared to the Front Range, a small town. Grand Junction is a good-sized city, on the western slope, but it's a Longmont, a little bit less than Longmont kind of city. So I'm curious how you chose to stay there. I know you live there, but you could have built this kind of company maybe even easier on the Front Range. I don't know what your opinion is on that, but you built it in Grand Junction, and I'm curious why.
Well, I wanted to continue to live in Ouray County. We raise our kids there. Our son just graduated from high school. Yay! Sorry. He, we really love the small town feel. The Western Slope is all small towns connected by, some of the greatest scenery and access to wilderness and national forests around. I mean, it is absolutely gorgeous, and we just wanted to stay. And so that's why we're here. I know that sounds kind of like, oh, well, fatalistic or something, but, it wasn't my intention to start a company here either. We have to make it work and still stay in the place we're at. So I took the sacrifice for the family. My husband stayed in Ouray County, and even though he is part owner of the company, when we started it, he actually had a IT job, and he worked at home. So it was really ideal for him to be there when the kids get off the bus and all those things. And so I just came to Grand Junction every day. It's a sacrifice for the things that you want and to do and the places you want to be. And we have a really good community of sowers here in Grand Junction. We used to joke that we had all the old marmot sowers.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I had Alex.
But,
I don't know.
I mean, maybe a lot of people don't know that that marmot was here in the Grand Valley long before they were who they are today. And that's kind of how we found people in the beginning. We didn't need 27 people to work for us in the beginning, so it was pretty easy to find a couple of those girls who were willing to, be part of the insanity at the beginning. But, now I think we're really fortunate that there is a good group of sewing people here, and we have struggled at times, but it tends to work out. Like when we really need someone just falls in our lap. So I don't know if we're lucky or people just hear about it and they're like, yeah, that's where I want to be. So.
Well, Alex, in our CEO series we did a little while ago, one of the themes that came up was a couple things. One is serendipity, basically. While I live here, I live in this beautiful place, and I didn't intend to start a business in Grand Junction, but there it is. Okay, I got lucky. People showed up at the right time, and I think we've seen that with a lot of the CEOs we talk to. That there's this, I don't say emphasis, I would say kind of a recognition that you work hard and good things happen, and you don't always know how they're going to happen, but you just kind of have faith. And I think that's what you're saying, Angie. Somehow when we need something, it's going to show up. It's going to happen, and we're going to keep going. And you attribute it to luck. I attribute it to preparation and having a great company and being a good person. I think that's got a lot to do with the luck that we see a lot of companies have, especially on the Western Slope.
Yeah, always focus on the positive, because the negative can surely make your company not work pretty quickly.
Yeah, to say the least. Well, and we talked about that too, Alex, about you can't afford too many bad people in an organization. Angie, I think you mentioned your daughter. I think your daughter works there. Isn't that right? Becca's there?
She does. She's working customer service and doing some marketing things for us. It's kind of fun because I get to see my granddaughter every morning.
Oh, cool.
So she's like, "Hi," like, you know, it's kind of nice to walk into work. She's here on her way to school, but you know, it's nice to have my daughter here as well. Like I said, I failed her in a lot of ways, but she still turned out okay.
Yeah. What a miracle, huh? If you know Angie, you know that she's probably overselling it, that she didn't fail as much as she thinks. Angie, but you're talking about something that I think is interesting that I've noticed on the Western Slope and in the rural areas, and in a number of women-owned companies in the Front Range, which is more of a ability to blend family and family needs with the business and business needs. Than I think a lot of companies have. I've noticed the outdoor industries are like that because people are committed to the thing they're doing. They love it. I'm just curious if if you've noticed that too, this kind of willingness to have a real life as well as building a big company.
Most definitely. The focus on family, I think, is it's different than in a city, for sure.
Yeah, we've seen like Heidi Hostetter's been here. Mm-hmm. Okay, Heidi's a single mom, runs a great business, but she's a great mom. You know, we've seen a lot of the brewing guys it's a family operation. You know, and they love, as you said, Angie, they love being with family. I think in the outdoor and lifestyle, we're seeing a lot more of that. And we're seeing a lot more women starting these businesses. Angie, I'm curious, even on the Western Slope, but out here, did you feel any particular different pressures as a woman starting this business out there, not just on the West Slope, but just in general?
You know, I never, aside from a few customers saying, "Oh, can I talk to your husband?" I really haven't been met with the whole female thing. I don't see myself as like disadvantaged because I'm a girl at all. I don't see myself as more powerful. I just see myself as being more human. I think that human piece is the bigger puzzle for me. Is like I just want to be more human and less guy girl. I don't know. It's not been a challenge at all. I don't think anyone has ever met me, you know, with some sort of like obstacle because of it.
Angie, what do you mean by more human?
You know, I don't think that, you know, there's a whole lot of difference between men and women. I mean, like in running a business, I think you just have to be more connected to being human and treating other people with, you know, the same human kindness that you would treat yourself with. I just never thought of myself as disadvantaged being a woman, or advantaged in any way.
Angie, do you have what you consider a company culture out there? Have you defined that or worked on it, or is it basically how you're just acting the way you've talked to us today? Is that something you've specifically focused on with your staff and your team out there?
You know, not really.
Yeah.
I just, you know, like I said, I mean, like, just be more human. Be more like, hey, I get it. Your kid is sick. But we don't have a time clock that you punch that you have to punch here. You know, I mean, like, your kid is sick, or you need to take them to the doctor, or you need to go to the doctor, or, you know, it's always family first. You need time off, take time off. I mean, you're not punished for being human. You know, or having issues or problems, or, you know, your car's broken down, or, you know, there's none of that. We just have respect for one another. Yeah,
I think what I'm hearing you say, and I think we've talked about it, Alex, is you can't ignore the fact that it's not a job; it's somebody's life.
Exactly.
You know, it is somebody's life, and your job is part of that life. But I think also, and we talked out there, Angie, about Malden Mills. What Angie's saying also is just smart business. Okay. Angie, we had a fellow that started working for us, and after 2 months had a pretty serious family tragedy. And he'd only worked for us for 2 months. And, you know, I called him up. I said, hey, do whatever you got to do. Take your time. We got your back. You know, he said, well, I've only been here 2 months. It doesn't make any difference. You do whatever you got to do. Take as much time as you need. We got you covered. Well, we got an employee for life, right? Mm-hmm. We're never going to have to worry. I think that's what you're building too, Angie, with those kind of things. People value that kind of treatment, and I think you're kind of, you know, really the epitome of that for that area. And I'm curious, how do you see your people change at all when they get that kind of treatment? Because they're probably not used to that if they're a new employee. Maybe you've come from a place that isn't that.
It's actually difficult with people who have worked for employers that required like so much, like punch the clock, take the break, do the things, don't be late, don't be this, you know, like they're like worried. They're like worried. Am I doing something wrong?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, like, dude, it's cool. You know, I got it. You got your stuff. And they're like, what? Like, they don't know how to behave, you know, or relax around stuff like that.
That's
and
interesting.
It's very strange to me that, like, you know, being in this regimented world that everyone wants to be in, that people feel uncomfortable having the freedom to kind of come and go as they please as long as they're doing their work. And you know, I think it's kind of funny. I hired a girl who was pregnant, and I paid her when she was off with her baby, and then I let her bring her baby here for a couple months until, you know, the baby was a little older before it went to, you know, get child care. So we all got to hold babies and took naps in my office, and, you know, it was a good thing. I think it matters to take care of people.
I completely agree. I think one of the best gifts you can give your employees is that autonomy, right? Being able to let them make their own decisions on when they want lunch, or if they need to leave half day early for to spend some time with their kiddo or with their spouse. And I think that you are, as Tom said, the epitome of allowing your people to do that. And the fact that you make yourself attainable to your employees is also very humanizing, right? A lot of CEOs sometimes, the bigger the company, I feel like the less attainable the CEO is. And so
right.
It's impressive that you're allowing yourself to do that, and you're on the floor with them, and that makes for a great culture in and of itself.
Angie, I'm curious, and that sets up a next question. You know, do you have plans to grow? But as you do, naturally, how do you think you'll be able to maintain that kind of culture?
You know, I think that when you build a culture with the people, that they continue to build the culture, you know, where they're decorating their coworker space for their birthday, or they're, you know, bringing in the garden stuff that they're growing that they have too much of, that they're sharing with, you know, everyone. You know, that they're going to lunch together, that they make friendships and they have silly jokes, and they, you know, they're able to play and have room to be human. So even if I'm not here, I feel like if people are still growing that because that's the culture I want them to have, that they will continue the culture. You know, I think you have to set that up for that. It's just like raising kids. You know, when they leave your house, you want them to be these, you know, capable, you know, young people. It's the same thing as just making the staff capable of caring for one another and doing their work and getting it done and being happy. So.
Well, it's interesting because what you're talking about now is people development on top of having the culture. You're talking about, I want them to be better people for having worked there. That's what I'm hearing you say.
Well, I tell every single person, when you leave here, that's what I tell them. When you leave here, I want you to have this skill or that opportunity, or let's take the time to work on something. Maybe you want to take a class. Let me pay for that. You know, like develop who you are and be better every day.
Does everybody respond well to that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Some people are a little scared of it. You know, like I was saying, like, oh, what? I can just leave? Yeah, totally. Fine. You know?
Yeah.
They're a little scared of it, but I think overall, people are like, okay, yeah, that makes sense, you know?
I know, we try to have kind of I wouldn't say similar culture because everybody's different, but we try to have the same values at Manufacturer's Edge, and I think people think about that when they're looking at other jobs, if they're thinking of as well, here's what I've got here that really fits in with my life. It might not fit in so well at an aerospace company or whatever. And so I think you're seeing it, Angie, is that is a huge deal about just keeping people around and keeping them motivated. And it comes through in our business, I think probably in yours too, Angie. It comes through in the product, and it comes through in the customer service and everything else.
Well, and I think it's one of those trends too that we're more leaning towards being open and available and having that openness at your job. And so people are going to focus more on their lifestyle and ability to be happy outside of work rather than focusing on how much money I can make at a company, right? And so you're hiring quality employees because they're looking for a certain lifestyle, and you're able to provide that.
Yeah. And the lifstyle that Angie chose is driving 100 miles each way to start with, right, Angie?
Yes, I love spending hours and weeks in my car. Yes, it's my hobby. So, when you think about millennials, everyone's like, oh, millennials, oh, they just want everything. No, they just want to not be a number. Yeah. They just want to work in a place like this and have a life outside of being a slave to their job.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people are like, oh, we don't hire millennials. And I'm like, I want all the millennials.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're a fabulous workforce, but they want to be off on Fridays, and they want to go ride their bike, and they want to go camping, and they want to go experience life. I've been extremely fortunate in my life that my husband wants to go out and do stuff, and we're busy, and we took our kids all kind of places, and they hate the car. They hate it. But this summer, my son, and last summer, but this summer, him and his buddy drove to Whistler and rode bikes for 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
At 18 years old, I gave him a passport. Go do things. And because we had that lifestyle, he wants to go out, but he wants Fridays off. And I get it. I wanted it too.
Yeah.
So
we all do.
You were here on a Friday, and there was no one here. There was 2 people here, if those people had to take off and go do something during the week, they just make up their hours on Friday, just getting stuff done. So sometimes we are closed on Friday, but it's an option to work. It's not required.
Yeah. Alex.
Awesome.
Alex is filling out a resume here.
Yeah, you're gonna give me Fridays off. I'm in. I'm one of those people that prefers Mondays off because you can do your doctor's appointments and your grocery shopping, and you're not running into anybody else.
Well, and Angie, you don't know this, and maybe a lot of people don't know this, but Alex is actually our favorite flight attendant, who has another part of her life, and I think that's part of the deal too, Alex, for you, is you've got these different facets that you like doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually sadly quit at the beginning of July. I had to give it up. I didn't want to. Trust me, I didn't want to, but I see, and first of all, Angie, I have to tell you, what a great gift to give your 18-year-old son a passport. That's amazing. I support that fully.
Thanks.
Yeah. But my parents also inscribed in me a love of travel, right, and getting to see things. And so I am fortunate enough here to be able to have a more flexible schedule. Yes, I'm here typically Monday through Friday, but if I need to take a Tuesday off to do things, they're very good about letting me be able to do that. And so I've been thankful to have this job to coincide with being a flight attendant up until I quit in July.
Okay.
But again, very sad about it.
Well, what's interesting is the two different trajectories. So Angie, you've talked about, when your husband and you took your kids everywhere. We had 8 kids growing up. I mean, and my mother had, and father obviously, had 6 under 5 at one point. Okay.
Wow. Oh my.
Yeah, and so you're not talking about family vacations. So we did not travel.
Right.
My father had a very steady job with the government, which he wanted to have that kind of family. But we weren't going off. We didn't. We talk about the big vacation we had one time to the Ozarks, which would be 100 miles from St. Louis, and it was a disaster. we still to this day feel so bad about my mother who planned all this thing, and it was just a disaster for a lot of reasons. And so we didn't travel. And guess what us 8 kids have done? We are everywhere all the time. We love traveling, love driving, because we didn't have it when we were kids, but we all learned by ourselves as we got older about the outdoors and about camping and about Colorado. The first time I came here was 50 years ago in May. And
you're still not a native, right? They won't allow it, will they?
I may not be a native, but I sure am home. Okay, and so I think it's interesting how people's lives then, again, when we talk about businesses and that, you kind of accidentally fall into things, but you make a good thing of it. As Angie said, look for the positives. And all of a sudden, she's running a 27-person firm that's really, kind of an exemplar of how you run a small company. And again, you never thought about doing it, Angie, and so it just kind of happened. But you've made something that's both reflective of the industry, but reflective of who you are as a person, and that's a very difficult thing to do. And you've done it, as they say, made it look easy. You really have.
Thanks.
Well, Angie,
it's a labor of love.
Oh, I like that, a labor of love. We have a couple minutes here left. 2 questions for you. 1, any advice to anyone out there who's looking to start their own business? And 2, how can I find you? Where can I get some of your awesome products?
Wow, advice on starting a company. I don't know if I have any advice.
This whole hour has been advice on starting a company.
Your leadership speaks for itself.
I think really stop and think about what you're doing, and if you have to drive a long distance, maybe step back a little.
Yeah, there you go.
And no matter what, at the end of the day, have a glass of wine and don't quit. Just keep going. It makes sense in the long run. It will make sense. You just have to keep thinking about it every day. Love it like you do your kids. Oh. And then you can visit us on our website, seekoutside.com. Everything that we sell is on there. We have some retailers kind of scattered around, Alaska, Sweden, Minnesota, Montana, Portland, Oregon. That's where you find our stuff.
Nice. What is your favorite product that you're selling currently?
I really like the 8-man teepee with extra large titanium wood stove. I am a hunter. I know that's not common either for women, but it's very spacious. You can fit a lot of children and their things in it, and you don't have to sleep right next to them, and you're warm and cozy. So that is probably my favorite product. A very, very big staple of Seek Outside for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Angie. It's been a pleasure having you on. Tom, always a pleasure to have you
Alex.
here. Yes, again, I need our audience to check out cobrt.com/radio-podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe our YouTube page while you're here. Also, check out our events page at cobrt.com/events. Sign up for our September 19th Climate Change panel with Representative Diana DeGette. Have a wonderful day.
You too, Alex. Thank you so much.